Welcome again to Not Fake News, and don't forget to share, subscribe, and smash that like button. Well, let's get right to it. She finally broke. What Maxine Waters just slipped will doom the Democrats. Story by Danny Gold. If you're looking to find a powerful Democrats guaranteed to say something batshit crazy, Mad Maxine Waters always manages to come through. This time, however, what she revealed on a morning radio show, The Breakfast Club, could literally spell the end of the Democratic Party. Good. Maxine Waters wants to form a political party for African Americans. Now, this is not an overnight takeover she has in mind. According to her little plan, Maxine thinks that, well, they should all just be Dems for now until they're strong enough to break off and make their own party.
And organize public policy.
Do you think black people should start their own political party?
To do what?
Should start their own political party?
No, not at this point. You've got to show that you're willing and you're able to put the numbers together and exercise your influence. We still are not voting our influence yet. I think what we should do is organize our power, exercise our power, particularly in the Democratic Party, because that's where most of us are. We should go to the conventions, we should be delegates, we should run for office, do all of that, and then you can raise that kind of question, whether or not we're strong enough to talk about organizing another party.
Gotcha. Who do you think will be the Dem now?
She was on something else today, and I really get that going.
Maxine made it very clear that she wants to see more black people at the polls voting Dems before she's willing to pull the trigger on anything. Apparently, Hillary Clinton did not give her confidence in the realm. You have to show that you're willing and you're able to put the numbers together and exercise your influence. We're still not voting our influence yet.
That's what she said.
That's what Maxine Waters is trying to say. There are a few fundamental issues with her perfect little plan. One, not all African Americans share the same values. What is to stop the party from splitting into liberals and conservatives again? Another issue is, who will lead the party? All right, if it's going to be Maxine Waters, well, they're doomed before they even get started. But hey, whatever. She gets out of her office is fine with us, but, right? Also, just a little heads up to any African Americans reading this. I lost my...
The Republican Party.
The Republican Party welcomes you wholeheartedly, despite the lies of MSM. Shares this if you agree 100%. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So yeah, the MSM is the mainstream media.
Okay.
So
MSM, mainstream media.
So basically, Republican Party welcomes you wholeheartedly despite the lies of the mainstream media.
You agree 100%.
Maxine Waters, what a crook. What a crook.
What's her story, man?
Man, she's just bad. Bad news.
Is she like a puppet of Hillary, or what is she?
Yeah.
Like a splinter?
She's just somebody that the Democrats are using to freaking throw
is she
under.
a senator,
throw
a
under
congresswoman? What is she?
She's a congresswoman.
Oh, okay.
She's just somebody that they're going to throw under the bus because she's 95,000 years old.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. She's clearly very, very, very old. And she was
not to offend anyone old.
No, but
you know what it is? When I see her, I just see death and the devil. So I just think of death, old, and she's not that old. There have been older people who aren't evil.
Well,
she's just evil.
Right, exactly. Well, I was just listening to her, and it's like the first time I've ever seen her. And all I could get at and seeing her right now is someone who's very indecisive, shaky, and not clearly. There was no train of thought there. There was just like this.
Yeah.
Puppet that was too old to be a puppet anymore.
We just want you to stay maybe Dems for now.
Yeah, until we get enough power, and then we'll just take over.
Right.
What are you talking about, lady? That's not democracy, by the way.
Check this out. Right after Blumenthal,
attacked Trump, Trump gave him an ultimate karma. Right after Blumenthal attacked Trump, Trump gave him the ultimate karma.
Oh, this one's spinning a lot. This might
Again,
have been the one that was causing it. Okay, anyway.
Okay, President Trump accused Senator Richard Blumenthal, he's a Democrat from Connecticut, this morning of lying about his military service. Then he hit him even harder this afternoon. Quote, I think Senator Blumenthal should take a nice long vacation in Vietnam, where he lied about his service, so he can at least say, well, he was there. Trump tweeted, Trump is friggin' brutal.
Trump tweeted this morning.
Did it say Trump?
Yeah.
It did say Trump. Donald Trump. I think Senator Blumenthal should take a nice long vacation in Vietnam, where he lied about his service, so he can at least say he was there.
Damn.
And you know what? Listen, the bottom line is, how many people are complaining about Donald Trump's tweets? Why? Because he tells you something that you'll never, ever hear if you waited for MSM?
Right.
You never hear that.
Right.
Right. So he tells you directly, look, this president is a genius. What he's saying is technology was invented so that I can tell you, Mr. Joe America. I mean, the average guys, working stiff, from a working stiff to a retired person, directly what he's thinking. Not through 10 people. I've never seen anyone with that much coverage. I mean, think about it. He's not using anyone in between him to speak for him.
He's got over 100 million people, I think, now. Check this out.
Trump is speaking about the fact that Senator Blumenthal admitted that he didn't serve during the Vietnam War. He was only a reservist. That's nice. That's,
I mean, don't go out there and say you're some hero.
Here's the point. There's a difference. I'm not a military guy. I'm not professing to be a military guy. But there's a big difference between somebody who joined some faction of the military, went through training, said goodbye to their family, got on a plane, landed in a war zone, and lived day after day after day after day after day like it could possibly be their last day on Earth.
In mud, in dirt, in holes.
A place 6,000 miles from their home.
For years.
And then to come home from that, and at that time, the American soldier was disgraced. They were spit on. They were treated like garbage when they came back from Vietnam. These were war heroes.
What did the mainstream media twist people's minds?
Yes.
Oh.
Right from the beginning, they put together a whole anti-Vietnam plan. Look, I'm not here to debate Vietnam and why we were there and why we weren't there. But the truth of the matter is, if you're there, I don't think it's the soldier's fault. And when he came home and was disrespected, disregarded, and treated like garbage, so much so that, let's just say I know people that work at the VA. I know some of them they're very close to me. And they say that the wars that were fought in Vietnam, those veterans that came home to this day suffer. So, here's a guy who was a reservist, who never served a day in his life, claiming to have experienced the same thing that these men experienced.
Now, here's the interview that caused Trump to resist on Twitter. 6 minutes. Let's see what this reservist, non-combative soldier did.
And don't get me wrong.
And so
I don't think everybody.
I think this is the one they didn't want to. I think this is the one they didn't want.
Joining me to talk more about this now is Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut. He's a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Sir, thank you so much for being on New Day this morning. You heard that from Rod Rosenstein. He also said separately, we're after leakers, not reporters, but there is a review of the media subpoena process in the Department of Justice. That is part of this. Who do you see as in the crosshairs here?
Government officials who break the law by disclosing classified information, endangering national security, and violating the criminal laws certainly should be pursued and prosecuted. But I'm very concerned that the Department of Justice is weaponizing these laws for its personal and political ends, and specifically for the White House's purposes. And that includes the announcement by the Attorney General that he's going to be reviewing the guidelines that essentially establish standards for when reporters can be subpoenaed or when information can be sought from them. And that's a chilling effect on the press and on whistleblowers and on information that doesn't involve classified data or disclosures, but in fact maybe just embarrassing or unwelcome. And what would we know, for example, about Michael Flynn? What would we know about the president's financial dealings, but for the press doing its work? They're
talking about classified information, and we've heard even from Jay Johnson, former Obama secretary, who said it's out of control. This is different than he's ever seen, the leaks. If there is this problem, why not confront this when you're talking about classified information?
When there is classified information, there's a strong argument to pursue the government officials, not the reporters. And that's different from information that may simply be embarrassing.
And you're worried that gets caught up in the net here.
Exactly right. And politicizing the Department of Justice for personal ends, I think, is a disservice to the law, and it's also potentially a violation of the spirit of the First Amendment. Remember, what we know about the Trump administration so far has been the result of very good reporting. I believe when the history of this era is written, the heroes will be the free press.
Did he just say very good reporting? What we know about President Trump is because of good reporting, and this is on CNN.
I don't know. Why don't you go back and play that again?
No, that's what he said.
The independent judiciary who have upheld the rule of law against threats by the Trump administration.
Let's talk North Korea. UN sanctions, new UN sanctions, and we just heard from the North Korean government. They said that nuclear weapons will not be on the negotiating table. So you look at these new sanctions, but there's this question about whether there's really going to be any effect. Are you worried about this war of words that we're seeing between the Trump administration as they consider even this option, having it on the table of a military option?
I'm worried that the Trump administration will fail to enforce these sanctions. Not an easy task. It has to involve China and Russia, just as enforcement against Iran of sanctions there had to be supported and encouraged by Congress, members of the Senate like myself, who pushed the Obama administration to enforce sanctions. They're only real if shipments of coal and other energy are stopped, and most important, financial institutions are enlisted to stop the flow of financial support to North Korea.
On Russia, and we talk so much about Russia, but I wonder what you mean or what you think when you're looking at the upcoming midterm elections. So many Democratic strategists are out there saying, look, this isn't what is keeping voters up at night. We talk a lot about Russia, but they're worried about jobs. Are you worried that Democrats using this criticism line of Republicans is actually going to backfire on them?
Not backfire, but absolutely right that the American people are concerned about the economy, job creation, not only employment, but fair compensation for what they do, and good jobs. And
so why aren't they discussing how great the economy is doing now?
I want to say something to you that I've noticed. If you watch this news reporter, as she's interviewing this man, it could be any person. It really doesn't matter if it's this guy, Blumenthal. It's irrelevant because I noticed one thing. She's feeding him lines and questions. If you look at the questions and the way she's phrasing them, they've already discussed these questions. These questions already are.
That's not normal.
Well, I don't think it's normal to feed a guy through an entire interview. That's just what she's doing.
Right.
She's actually saying. She's phrasing her questions. She's phrasing her questions in such a way that she's leading him to answers that he's just dying to give the information to.
Right.
It's amazing to me. It really, really is amazing.
So it's acting. It's scripted.
It is bad acting at best.
Scripted.
And it's absolutely scripted. It's not a true interview. with somebody that's giving. Notice the way he's reacting to her questions.
Notice how clear this one is.
Yeah, he can't wait to answer the question because he actually had an agenda prior to coming on, and they met in the middle, and she's over there feeding him his questions, and he's getting out his propaganda and his nonsense and his point of view in such a way where he's pretending that she asked him the questions, and that's the reason he's answering the way he is.
Yeah, I know. I notice that all the time. It's nauseating.
Benefits and
let's
how they are doing it, how their children are going to do in this economy. But the Russia investigation, the impanelment of the grand jury, shows that Bob Mueller is pursuing this potential wrongdoing by the Russians, the attack on our democracy, seriously and diligently. And there is no minimizing or underestimating that attack by the Russians. It was purposeful and relentless, and it involved propaganda and hacking into our voting machines, or at least an attempt to do it, and potential collusion by the Trump campaign, and then obstruction of justice. That investigation must be pursued.
And discussed in all important topics, but that isn't the message that Democrats are putting out there. They're saying what you're saying. They're not talking about jobs and inspiring voters at this point in time to look at them as an alternative on these kitchen table issues that really drive people to the ballot box.
The fact is, we are talking about a better deal, about economic inclusiveness, about better pay for good jobs, and the Democratic caucus in the United States Senate has just unveiled a very specific program for building infrastructure and creating greater fairness in taxes, lower pharmaceutical drug prices, and healthcare costs generally. Hard to cut through, but we are pushing that mandate as part of what we as Democrats are offering to the American people. But this grand jury investigation also involves the rule of law, and fundamentally Americans care about the rule of law. And so protecting Bob Mueller through the legislation that a group of us on a bipartisan basis offered last week, requiring a 3-judge panel if the president threatens to fire Bob Mueller, I think is very important to protect and safeguard the independence and integrity of that investigation.
Obviously, very in your purview as a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator Richard Blumenthal, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Brianna.
Chris?
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah, this morning Trump accused Blumenthal of being a phony Vietnam con artist. This attack came after Blumenthal whined to CNN that he was concerned that the Department of Justice is weaponizing laws after they threatened to crack down on leaks. Blumenthal said this to Trump this morning. Blumenthal fired back after the first tweet, writing, "Mr. President, your bullying hasn't worked before, and it won't work now. No one is above the law." Share this if you think Trump is a hero for taking on the swamp. They are fighting back, but we the people will not let down. Did you still have his back?
I do. I see right through what they're doing.
Look, you know, it's funny. If you look at what Blumenthal said, he actually said, "Your bullying didn't work and it won't work now." You know, right?
That's not necessary.
Just to say the least, the word bullying and president in the same statement. It's amazing how this attack on this president is relentless. Every question.
Makes you wonder what they're hiding.
That's right. No, it makes you wonder what their agenda is.
Right. Well, if someone's agenda, it's not them. This guy, he's 98 years old.
He's a puppet.
They're throwing in the old
right.
Republicans to do the really bad things, like Maxine to come out and ask for impeachment.
Yeah, impeachment.
Pelosi coming out and calling him garbage.
Pelosi. Does anyone remember Pelosi from Alaska? She couldn't walk or chew gum.
What do you She's not from Alaska.
Pelosi.
She's a Democrat from California. Not the camera.
I don't know about that.
She's a Democrat from California, Nancy Pelosi. There's another one from Alaska. She's a real bum, and I've been saying, I can't remember her name right now, but that's who you must be speaking to about. What did she do?
Oh, well, when she came out, she had family issues. She had all kinds of things that were she should have never been voted into office to begin with, but nobody said anything.
Yeah,
they outed the information, but it never affected her career.
Well, that's the same thing with everyone else that's going on. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, that woman, $650,000 went to her daughter for some stupid.
Really?
Yeah, and it turned out to be. They're looking into it. Also, Bernie Sanders' wife, they're looking into her for fraud, for $10 million loan for a college that went under that she never gave back the money. Bernie Sanders' wife.
Really?
Yeah. And speaking about that, you want to see something great?
Yeah.
Watch this. Right here. Bernie Sanders. Bernie. Where are you, Bernie?
Feel the burn. You're getting burned.
Let's go back to space where it was. Bernie. There you go. Run and hide. Crazy Bernie tries to creepy new maneuver to brainwash our kids. Stay away from our kids, Bernie. This is what they do. They try to get in your schools. They try to do this. Check this out. Run and hide. Crazy Bernie tries creepy new maneuver to brainwash youth. Crazy man, Democrat Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders has taken some time out of his busy schedule dealing with the FBI investigation into his wife's bank fraud to pen a book, teach teens to be political revolutionaries just like him. So to write a book, I guess they're trying to say. Sanders gave an interview with Teen Vogue explaining the rationale behind his book, which will be out on August 29th, and I suggest everyone to never buy that book.
Young people are the future of this country. As citizens of the United States, they have a responsibility to participate in our democracy and to help create a government which works for all, rather than just a few. The book will expose them to an unusual political campaign. The excitement of the excitement of politics and what being progressive is all about.
That's weird, right?
No, it's weird. Good.
No, it's not. Great, more socialist nonsense for our youth. Thanks, Bernie. Teen Vogue highlighted the book that will feature graphs that facts on income equality and more money in politics. I wonder if he'll talk about how the senator makes it terribly easy for your wife to get $10 million bank loan on behalf of the college she's running to the ground. Right. So because you're a senator, it made it very easy. In part of the guide forward, Sanders writes, the current generation of young people is smartest, most idealistic, and least prejudiced generation in modern history of the United States. This is a generation that is spread to think big and move this country in a very different direction than we've been traveling for years. Yes, I quite like the direction the U.S. has been in traveling. Thank you very much, Bernie Sanders. Hopefully, our nation's youth won't be suckered into lies of democratic socialism. I think it's time Sanders retires to one of those 3 homes that he bought off, from our money that we paid him. Thanks so much. Share if you agree. Thanks again. You can also thank Mike Adler for tuning in tonight with us and reading a few of the stories. And don't forget to share, subscribe, smash that like button.